It's story time. In VIT Community Radio 90.8, you're going to listen to a short story written and narrated by Professor R.Pranesh Kumar, VIT University.
Title of the story: Padma. A land traditionally endued with myths and spirituality, India still pertains to its belief and notions, which sometimes are ridiculed as superstitious. Fortune tellers, tantris and sannyasis are welcomed, and their service is sought by an ordinary man, irrespective of whether he is an urban or rural dweller. The beginning of 1980s was a period in South India, especially in South Tamil Nadu, when most of the homes in villages were electrified, and God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. While some claim that light enlightened people, there are also notions that it wiped away the innocence of the ordinary. The hero of the story, Raghav, was employed in the electricity board. He was looked upon with great wonder and respect. People spoke to him rarely. It must be the fear factor or respect that made the villagers shy away from Raghav. Raghav was in his 40s. He had a fearful appearance with a huge imperialistic mustache, reddish eyes, and a gigantic figure which would scare away children. It was 6:30 p.m. Raghav rushed to the tea shop close to the Panchayat office. Mohan and Aji were waiting there for his arrival. In the dim light, Raghav could rightly locate them from a few meters away with the illuminated cigarettes on their lips. The silence of the eve was beautiful, with a movie song from the Tamil movie Padinaru Vaidinile that was ascending from the tea shop radio. The atmosphere was disturbed in intervals by a scratch noise. Probably it's the tea shop owner cleaning his vessels. Raghav, Mohan and Aji were friends right from their childhood days. Mohan and Aji were unemployed but survived on the income from their ancestral property. Among them, Mohan was the youngest. He differed from his friends, wearing a bell-bottomed pant and with a peculiar hairstyle that was trendy among youths of the time. Coming close to his friends, Raghav stopped, got on from the cycle and flipped down the stand, leaving it to rest. Aji offered a cigarette to Raghav. Before placing it between his lips, Mohan lighted it for Raghav with his own. The conversation began immediately after Raghav had 2 strong puffs of the dry tobacco roll. Aji, shall we proceed with it? Raghav, with what? Removing the cigarettes from his mouth. Mohan, should we narrate it again? Don't you remember the plan that we told you yesterday? Raghav, but I told you that I have very little knowledge about mantras. Did I not? Aji, so you are the right person. You have the little knowledge that we need. After giving a deep thought, Raghav replied. Raghav, okay then, let's give a try. But only if you support me. Both the friends cheered as they were waiting for this word from Raghav. As it used to be, a wealthy landlord of the nearby village had a beautiful daughter. The fairy girl was possessed by the evil spirit Raktarashas, a bloodthirsty evil spirit. The landlord was much worried since it was the time when he was almost successful in fixing a bridegroom for his daughter Padma. Padma was then alienated. She sat at the corner of a dark room, staring at the window with wet eyes. She expressed a peculiar symptom. No one in the house went close to her. If that happened, she bit her own flesh to suck blood, thus scaring away others. Prayers and special pujas with offerings to the local deities were made. Kalam puja during midnight and all other means were tried but in vain. The distressed landlord promised a lump sum of 5,000 rupees for any tantri who would ward off the Raktarashas from his daughter. 5,000 rupees was a lump sum then. The secret news of Padma spread throughout the village. Everyone knew of this, but none dared to discuss about it in public. Aji's father Natraj, the prominent matchmaker of the village, brought home the story of Padma. Natraj was the matchmaker for Padma. When the story of the Raktarashas reached the 3 friends through Aji, they discussed the issue. The bone of content of the discussion was not Padma, but the 5,000 rupees. The 3 friends were in dire need of money. Mohan needed money to buy a new tape recorder. Raghav was aiming for a motorbike and Aji wanted to buy a costly gift to impress his lady love. Aji said, merely dreaming about the lump sum will give us absolutely no result. How do we grab it? Mohan, Raghav's grandfather was a well-known Vaidya and a Tantri. He was also an expert in warding off evil spirits. Raghav, oh, that old man. It's all gone with him. Aji, gone? No, it still exists in you. Raghav, me? Aji, yes, you. My dad often recalls your grandfather and concludes that Raghav resembles his grandfather in every minute detail. Raghav, but that's not all. Mohan, I have several experiences of witnessing tantris warding off evil spirits from people. It's an easy task. They chant and murmur mantras, and the major part would be beating the victim till he obeys his orders. If that's easy for you, why don't you? Before Raghav could complete, Aji interrupted. Aji, the appearance, that's your ancestral gift. Raghav, okay, even if I accept it, imagine what would happen if the evil spirit pounces on me. Mohan, Raghav na, wasn't it you who preached us Periyar thoughts and rational thinking? And now it's time to prove your dedication to Tandai Periyar. The conversation came to a halt. All the three lighted their cigarettes, which they shared from the same pack. Before departing, Raghav promised his friends that he would give a reply the next day evening. That night, Raghav could continuously listen to the hooting sound of an owl, for he with the owl had a sleepless night. The search for his grandfather's personal records in the old granary began early in the morning before his wife woke up. A few worn-out, hardly readable palm leaf inscriptions were the only record, but he could find a little solace in it. He decided not to back off the challenge. Soon, the news about the arrival of an expert tantri was sent to the landlord with a detailed list of the puja materials. Aji acted as a messenger between the tantri and the landlord. A Paurnami, full moon day Friday, was fixed for the puja. Raghav dressed himself in such a manner that his true identity will not be revealed. The three boarded a bus to a particular destination in the village, from where they were fetched by the landlord's car. The driver of the car bowed before Raghav as a sign of respect. This made Mohan and Aji breathe a sigh of relief, but Raghav's heart was pounding heavily. Before descending from the car, Raghav closed his eyes for a few seconds and pretended as if he is drawing energy. In reality, he prayed to his long-dead grandfather seeking guidance. The landlord and his wife warmly welcomed Raghav to their home. Seated majestically, Raghav uttered, "I could feel the presence of an evil as soon as I stepped into your home. She has posed a challenge to me. Don't worry, I'll take her away with me." Meanwhile, Mohan and Aji were busy in the backyard creating the ambience for the puja, which was scheduled to begin soon. Raghav was taken to the isolated room where Padma was held captive. As soon as he stepped in, the light was switched on by the landlord. Raghav's red eyes opened widely and he fixed his gaze on Padma, who was seated on the floor in a corner. Padma did not react immediately at the presence of Raghav, probably because she had had enough experience with tantris quite often by then. Raghav's eyes were still set strong on Padma. Actually, he was stunned by the unblemished beauty of Padma, a beauty that makes one speechless. When Raghav moved close to her, she screamed violently, and in the peak of her fits, she bit her arm close to the elbow along with her garment. Immediately, blood gushed from her mouth and arm. Seeing this, Raghav was taken aback, but did not react. Padma now fainted and threw herself on the floor. She wore a half sari. The visible portions of her body showed red scars, which must have been the result of the beatings she received from the earlier tantris. She lay down like a white hibiscus with red marks. Coming back, Raghav sat before the holy fire and started chanting few mantras as tantris do. He wore a red-colored dhoti and tied a red-colored scarf around his forehead. Flowers and herbs were dropped into the sacred fire with closed eyes and lip chanting mantras. It was midnight. The landlord and his wife witnessed the scene with utmost dedication. After a few minutes, Raghav ordered Aji and Mohan to bring Padma. They both disappeared into the house. Soon a scream was heard. The noise increased as Padma was brought to the backyard. She was screaming violently, trying to free herself from the clutches of the two. The highest form of compassion and concern was expressive on the face of Padma's mother. Padma sat helplessly staring at the fire. The blood stains on her face were now clearly visible through the flames. After a few moments, Raghav stretched his arm towards Aji to get a stick from him. Standing up, Raghav started beating Padma violently. Padma did not react. She sat still. No one would ever dare to harm such an innocent beauty. It was as if beating a tender baby for no reason. Probably this feeling must have stopped Raghav from proceeding further. With his reddish burning eyes, he looked ferociously at Aji and handed the stick to him, cueing him to continue with beating. While Aji continued, Raghav shouted, "Will you leave this body?" For which Padma gave a loud cry, "No." Not able to witness the scene, Padma's mother left the place with panic, followed by her father. Second expanded to minutes, and minutes to hours. In another couple of hours it would be dawn. The voice of Padma became faint. She hardly opened her mouth, but shook her head rhythmically to convey the message, "No, no." Padma was wet with sweat and blood. She lay down like a wet flag on the roadside, unattended by party cadres after a meeting. Now Padma was partially dragged to her room. After leaving her alone, the three looked at each other. Raghav gave a tight-lipped expression and nodded his head to admit his failure. He rubbed the kumkum from his forehead and descended down the stairs. He sat on the first step. After giving a second thought, Raghav took a piece of electric wire which was lying on the floor and rushed towards Padma. Padma was cornered. Holding the folded wire in his arm, he raised it to beat Padma, but to his shock, she grabbed his feet, fell on it and pleaded. She cried with a sweet voice, "Please, leave me." Raghav was moved. Raghav closely watched her lips for more words. She paused. A drop of water would fall from a melting ice only when the required amount gets collected. Now the drop fell. "I am normal. I don't have any illness," Padma said in a soft voice. Raghav, "But you?" "Padma, can you help me?" Before Raghav could give an answer, Padma continued, "I am in love with my cousin, but our families are not in good terms. My parents will never accept him as my pair. If I reveal it, Chandran may be in trouble. He is serving in the Indian army. He'll be back by the end of this month. I have to wait just for 15 days more to postpone this marriage that my parents have arranged for me." "Raghav, you tortured yourself by biting?" Raghav paused when Padma took out few packets of kumkum hidden under her garment. That was the secret behind their blood-sucking act. Raghav was stunned. Padma continued, "I know you are not a tantri." Hearing this, Raghav touched his face and dress with his fingers to make sure if his makeup hasn't deceived him. "You never uttered a correct mantra." Raghav expressed a surrendered look of a child in front of his mother. Padma continued, "My parents will not let me out of the house." Those were the days when women were denied freedom to move about, especially after the marriage is being fixed. In most of the communities, women did not have any freedom in choosing their life partners too. It was considered wrong for a woman to express her opinion about the choice of her parents. Some women considered that pretension of being possessed by an evil spirit was the only way by which they could get an outlet to express their views. Whatever she uttered in this form was considered as a word of the spirit which possessed her. Padma was one such victim. Raghav was deeply moved by the depth of love that Padma had for Chandran. She had withstood all the humiliations of the tantri for her love. Padma carefully stood up, stretched her hand towards the picture of goddess Lakshmi, and took a piece of paper which was hidden behind it. She carefully handed the paper to Raghav. "Can you inform Chandran that my parents are busy in getting me married to another man, please?" Raghav took the paper and looked into the contact details. Nodding his head as a sign of acceptance, he moved out. Just as he stepped out of the room, he could hear the murmuring sound of his friends outside. Then something struck him. He swiftly turned back to Padma. Holding the paper in one arm and the other arm holding the door, Raghav uttered to Padma in a feeble sound, "Can you do us a favor?" Padma looked at Raghav with an expression that signaled proceed. "Raghav, I assure you that we will unite you with Chandran. But till then, can you stop this self-punishing at least for our sake?" Hearing this, like streams of water in a dry place, Padma's lips started to smile after a long time. "Padma, don't worry, you will get your reward." The word was kept. Years passed, and today Padma and Chandran are happy with their children and grandchildren. Today, as the opinion of women is being sought by their parents for all the factors that concern their life, the cases of women possessed by evil spirit in the society has declined.
Dear listeners, you had listened to a short story written and narrated by Professor R.Pranesh Kumar, V.I.T. University, in V.I.T. Community Radio 90.8.